hope everybody's enjoying episodes of 10 Questions With. Please like, share, and subscribe. And on that note, here's episode 3.
I am Shane Anderson, living in Hamilton, Ontario, and grew up in a small town in New Brunswick called Quispamsis. I play guitar in barbed wire braces and bass guitar in prior convictions. So what got me into punk music was I was a metalhead in the 80s, and in elementary school a friend of mine had moved away to Ottawa. He got into punk and had a few bands in Ottawa, and then moved back home to New Brunswick when I was in high school. And he brought home cassette after cassette after cassette of just the most amazing music I'd ever heard. He got me into Guar, which I guess teeters on metal and punk. Dayglow Abortions, Henry Rollins, Black Flag, all that sort of stuff. And he ended up making a mixtape for me that I wore out. Oh, Old Corrosion Conformity was on there as well. And then shortly after that, another friend made me a mixtape which had The Accused, All, Doughboys, Anger Samoans, that sort of stuff. And then I got into Bad Religion after that as well, and it just took off from there. So main influences. Musically, I guess at the beginning of my learning how to play guitar, one of my best friends was Ed Bastrash, and he was kind of teaching himself at the same time as I was, and he would end up learning songs and teaching me how to play them. And we would sit around in his bedroom for hours and hours playing guitar. So I guess he was the beginning of my influences that way. Personally though, I think my stepbrother, Christian, who he learned to play guitar, taught himself. He started playing around 13, I think. We shared a bedroom, and he would sit in our bedroom while I was trying to sleep and learn his scales. And there's nothing worse than trying to go to sleep when some asshole is trying to learn how to play a scale. It's awful. So, but he got cancer and at 16 and ended up dying at 22. But before he passed, he was one of the best guitar players I'd ever heard. He could play Black Sabbath. I put on an Annihilator album for him one day, and I went to the store, and by the time I came back, he'd learned the first song off the album, which, if you've ever heard Annihilator, is almost unheard of. They're so fast and technical. And he influenced most of the people around me and my friends and our music scene in New Brunswick. Everybody wanted to jam with him. Everybody knew who he was and looked up to him, and I looked up to him a great deal. So much so that since he's passed away, I have one of his guitars, and I purchased 2 more just because they look like the ones that he had, and my stepsister gave me another one just recently, so they're my prized possessions. First show. So technically, it was Anne Murray. My baby sister wanted to go see Anne Murray for her birthday, and my mother bought us all tickets. So we went to see her in Fredericton in like, I don't know, 82, 83, somewhere around there. First show I intentionally went to was Metallica Justice for All tour with Queensryche opening. We had floor seats at the back of the bowl, And before the show even started, we saw people jumping the hockey boards down onto the floor. So we looked around for security guards and we ran. We got on the floor. We were about 5 people away from Kirk Hammond at the right side of the stage for the whole show. It was absolutely incredible. Went home, my ears rang for about a week. Punk show though, I would say that was the Scapegoats, which was a local band from New Brunswick, played at the UMBSJ cafeteria with, if I'm correct, it was Hemlock and NFA, who were friends of mine from high school. Scapegoats were massive in New Brunswick, as far as New Brunswick bands went, and were huge influences on me, and they ended up becoming friends of mine, and I'm still talking to them to this day. So, great show. The favorite show, I'm going to have to do a couple of them, much like Crash did, because there's too many. I saw Agnostic Front at the El Macombo in Toronto in, I don't know, early 2000s, 2001 maybe, 2002, somewhere around there. The roadie saw the shirt I was wearing. It was an Agnostic Front shirt, and he'd never seen it before. So he dragged me up on stage and introduced me to Roger on stage and said, "Look at this guy's shirt, man." And Roger turned around and said, "Holy fuck, that's awesome. I've never seen that before." And he gave me a big hug, and Jake shook my hand, and we chatted for a few minutes. I met Vinny Stigma on the stairwell, going to the loo at that show as well. Another great chat. They were amazing. The El Macombo was a phenomenal venue for shows. I saw Dayglow Abortions and a bunch of fucking goofs play there once, and that was amazing. I met Scott Ian after a spoken word show there, and I got a photo with him and talked to him for a little bit. That was amazing. Suicide Machines and No Use for a Name, I think, there was a bar on Spadina, opposite side from the El Macombo. I can't remember the name of it. Second floor. I think Anti-Flag might have played that show too. I can't remember now. But the first time I saw Anti-Flag was at that bar, and they were absolutely incredible, and I've been a fan ever since. That was the first album tour. Met Bad Religion at the Warehouse one time, and also met Ministry at the Warehouse one time. So amazing shows for the music and the crowds, of course, and then of course to get to meet some of my idols. Oh, and I met Jello Biafra a couple times. Once after spoken word, and once after Jello and Guantanamo show at the Opera House. And Sacrifice. Oh my God, I've seen Sacrifice like 4 times now. I never get to see them back in their day, in the heyday, and they did the reunion show. I'm actually on the DVD, and the photo they took from that show is on their Ones That Condemn album. You can see me playing this day, which is really bizarre, but yeah, amazing shows. Got to hang out with them and talk to them at that show as well. An edit to the favorite shows. My friends Jay and John and I went to see Guar play at a small bar in Guelph, and I can't remember the name of the bar, but holy shit, what a show. They had the whole bar covered in plastic because they knew what was going to happen, and but we were outside lined up waiting to get into the show, and I saw the guys walk by without makeup, and I pointed at Dave Brocky and said, that's Odorous Orungus, and people looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, I'm telling you, that's Odorous Orungus. And they're like, yeah, whatever. But he went around the side of the bar, went in that back door or whatever, and I went inside, went into the merch table, and I said, I just saw Dave outside, do you think he'll be walking around? And the merch guy goes, oh yeah, absolutely, he's always walking around. So sure enough, doesn't come walking by a minute later, and he grabbed me and said, Dave, can I get a photo with you? And he says, oh yeah, man, absolutely. So he stopped and talked to us for like 5 minutes. Nobody knew who the friggin' guy was. I was the only guy in the club who knew who he was. And we're just standing there like just 2 guys having a beer, and I got my friend Jay to take a photo of us, and it's one of the greatest pictures I've ever taken. Like, it's one of my favorites, I should say. Just because it was so fucking cool to meet Otis Orongus and have nobody around us have a clue who he was while we're standing there waiting to see him get on stage. It was just so bizarre and amazing at the same time. So Steve talked me into adding to the favorite shows. In 93 or 94, maybe even 95, doesn't matter. Problem Children came to Fredericton. I'm still living in New Brunswick at the time. They'd been through a few times before, and I was already a fan, but I had missed them every friggin' time. They even stayed at my friend Mike Melanson's house in Moncton and signed the On the Air 7-inch at Mike's house for me. Mike delivered it to me, a couple months later. But they finally played Fredericton, and I was able to go, and couldn't find a ride. So my friend Janita, who was a beautiful girl, and was willing to go hitchhiking with me. So that's always a bonus when you're hitchhiking, if you can have a pretty girl hitchhiking with you, because people will stop. So Janita and I, we got a ride into St. John, and then we hitchhiked the rest of the way to Fredericton. I think we had maybe 2 rides to get there. And we arrived, went to our friend's house, and got ready for the show. Went to the show. It was in the basement of a church in Fredericton. I can't remember the name of the church, but the PA was absolute shit. And my friend's NFA opened that show, and we couldn't hear a single word out of Jason's mouth, but the music was phenomenal. And I met Jamie and Barney, and I can't remember the other guys that were in the band at the time now. But I was talking to them all at the merch table beforehand. They were teasing one of the guys because he used to be in the wet spots. Jamie's told me a couple times now who it was. I can't remember now. But I said, Jamie, that song "Believe" off the Kids Next Door album, it just resonates with me. It's another one of those things that picks you up, kind of thing. So if you could please play that song tonight, I'd love it. And they did. And of course, couldn't hear a friggin' word out of Jamie's mouth, but the crowd sang it. I wish somebody recorded it or videotaped it, but we all sang along, even though we couldn't hear Jamie, and the hair on my arms was standing on end, and everybody was just euphoric and having a fucking wicked time. And so seeing the Problem Children, the one and only time I ever actually got to see them, was well worth the hitchhike to the other city to see it. So past and current band history. In New Brunswick, I made many attempts at trying to be in a band, even though I didn't deserve to be. My skills were wholly inadequate and horrible, but my first attempt was at a band called Mental Torture. Actually, one of my favorite tattoos, if you can see that one there or not, but my friend Mike designed the tattoo for me. I got it when I was 18. We started the band, and I was not very good. I went to Toronto to visit friends for a month in the summer, and when I came back, they had kicked me out of the band and recorded a new album under a new band name. And I hate that I bring that up. It's a bit of a sore spot. But yeah, so Mental Torture, and then I moved into St. John when I was 18 and tried a few bands. We had one briefly, we toyed with the names Jamaican Bobsled Team and the Rubber Knife Gang. Played one show at our jam spot with a bunch of friends' bands, and it was a hell of a lot of fun, but didn't get any further than that. Moved to Toronto in '96 and tried to form another band, but nothing ever really came of anything. A couple jams, and that was that. But then when I moved to Hamilton and met Crash and Sue, thank you. Crash and Sue introduced me to everybody in the Hamilton scene, and within, 6 or 8 months of meeting them, Paul Kuntz asked me to form a band with him, and we were called Come Out Swinging. We lasted a little over 2 years, I think. We recorded an album, had a fuck ton of fun. That band was so fun. We were kind of a sick of it all sounding kind of band. Played shows all over Southern Ontario, and started to get some traction when we kind of fizzled out. Just before we fizzled out, I was asked to join Barbed Wire Braces by Mark Mahara, and he asked me to play bass. I said I'd never played bass in my life. He said, well, if you can play guitar, you can play bass, which I still can't, but whatever. I went and jammed with them and had a lot of fun, and stayed. So I'm still in Barbed Wire Braces right now. I don't know, around 5 years, 6 years, something like that. We recorded a CD, 7-inch, 10-inch. We did a split with our friends in Moncton, New Brunswick, called Nerve Button. We toured, went down to New Brunswick actually, played St. John and Moncton. We've been all over Southern Ontario as well. We're still having a lot of fun. Right now we're in our like 3rd or 4th iteration of the band. I've changed from bass to guitar, and we've got Simon Marshall on drums, and Mark is now doing bass and vocals. And Simon, by the way, as Crash mentioned, is a frickin' genius on the drums. So we've progressed infinitely since he joined. While being part of Barbed Wire, John from Prior texted me through Facebook and said a couple of our members have dropped out of Prior Convictions. Are you interested in playing bass? And I said, well, your bass player is way above me. Like, Chris was awesome, is awesome. But he had left, and they asked me to try and play. I said, I'll play, but I'll never be as good as him. They said, don't worry about it, just do it. Come on, join us. So I went to a practice where Dan Medowin came as well, and he was asked to join on vocals. We jammed that night, did all right. You know, I think we kind of felt that it was going to be good. So they said, do you guys want to stay? And we said, yeah. So we stayed. So Prior has gotten such an amazing following. We've got people interested in this globally now, partly because of Dan and Dwayne's hard work. They've formed a label called Lockdown Records, and they put out 4 compilation albums already. They've got us on comps through the States. There's one apparently in Australia or something, and we've got interest in Europe. And we've been asked to, once this lockdown lifts, to go out to BC to play a big show out there. So yeah, Prior Convictions has just taken right off. If it wasn't for COVID, I think we'd be touring right now, like doing wicked tours. But yeah, so that's right now currently. Guitar in Barbed Wire and bass in Prior, and that's it for now. So craziest thing stories. Never seen anything really crazy or attended anything really nuts, but a couple of kind of funny ones. I went to a show in St. John in the North End. I want to say it was Troops of Doom and NFA. It might have been the band Troops of Doom was before that. I can't remember what the old name was. But there was a wicked pit going on. It was at a Legion in the North End of St. John, and I decided I'm going to get in this crazy wicked pit, which was incredibly dumb because I was 150 pounds soaking wet. And I ran into the pit just as some guy cracked his elbow back, and he put his elbow into my face and put my front teeth right through my bottom lip, came right out of right there. And that was my pitting for the whole night. I was done. I was in the bathroom washing off the blood and holding paper towel to my face for the rest of the show. In Toronto, I went to see MXPX at the bottom end of the warehouse. I can't remember what the name of that venue was called, but it was funny. We're in line outside, and a bunch of stupid drunk teenagers were just out of their minds, and we haven't got into the show yet. These idiots are blasted out of their gourds, we're standing there, and I watch this girl. She's just standing there talking to her friend. She just goes, face first right into the pavement. I couldn't help but laugh. I know it's not funny, yeah, but at the time when you know, somebody's being stupid, hopefully she got some help and she's not doing that kind of crap anymore. But one of the best ones I think was recently, a couple of years ago, at Sick of It All at the Opera House. This guy gets on the stage and tries to do a backflip into the pit and landed on his friggin' head. Like the pit just parted like the Red Sea, and Lou Kohler was like, whoa, 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 stop the show right in the middle of the song. Is that guy okay? I thought they were gonna have to call the ambulance for that friggin' guy. He hit so hard. But yeah, after about a minute or two, a couple people got him up. He was walking around, and he stayed for the show as far as I know. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing super crazy. So what do I enjoy and hate most about being a musician? So music, it may sound cheesy, but it's gotten me through so much. I feel like it means more to me than most people. Maybe that sounds a little condescending, I don't know, but it picks me up, it carries me through, it's gotten me through, you know, bad breakups or shitty days at school or friends' deaths or family deaths. Or I put on music and it just invigorates me, you know. If I'm so down that I feel like the end's near, I could just listen to something and just it brings me back to life. So playing it takes it to that next level. I've wanted to play my whole life, like literally since grade 2 I've wanted to play guitar, and you know, I didn't put enough effort into it admittedly in the younger years. Now I'm starting to do that a little more with these bands are making me a better musician, and everybody in these bands is teaching me something, and when we get to play together on stage we have so much fun. It's undescribable. Until you've done it and felt it and felt the crowd like it. Like, it's one thing to do it just for yourself. It's awesome to do it for yourself and realize you've made this song or learned how to play this song or written something that you're proud of. Then to have somebody else like it on top of that, it's the icing on the cake. You know, playing shows and having people dance or clap and scream after the whatever, and you get off stage and everybody's shaking your hand, and they like what you've done, that you've made a difference to them. Wow, absolutely amazing. The only downside I can see is the clashes that end up happening. When you're that close to people all the time, clashes are inevitable. Whether it's your family or your friends or your band members or your coworkers, clashes are going to happen, and sometimes it means the band breaks up. Like in the case of Come Out Swinging, where, man, that band was good, and it fucking breaks my heart that it didn't get to continue. And I don't talk to some of the people for the most part, so that's the shitty part. To take something where people wanted to be in a room together, where people wanted to create something together, and we're having so much fun at it, and then have it just explode, and then people don't talk to each other anymore. The friendships are dissolved. There's former members of Barbed Wire Braces that I haven't spoken to in many months. No real reason. They're just not in the band anymore, and then the friendship fizzled. I didn't intend for that to happen, but you know, me being such an extrovert and a social person, I get a lot from the people I'm around, whether it's having a conversation with somebody or having a beer with them at a show or playing a show. Being around people is second only to music, really. So to lose some of the most important people because of some clash while you're in a band, a disagreement about whether the music should be played a certain way, or Somebody didn't like somebody's behavior at a practice or a show. That's the downside. It just sucks. But as long as things are going, it's great. So, Steve's asked me to do useless talents, and these are definitely useless. I started teaching myself the eyebrow thing when I was real young, so now I can do both of them for some strange reason. People can often just do one, but yeah, you try and do the dance. And then my friend Troy taught me the water drop. So that's about it. Pretty fucking useless. So favorite food, I'm gonna have to pick a few of them because there's too many good ones. Tacos. We do Taco Tuesday here at my house. Kids love it. We will turn it into burritos or nachos or quesadillas or whatever. You can't go wrong with Mexican food. But let's just say tacos in general. My wife makes this amazing dish called salmon dill. It's spaghetti noodles with dill weed and lemon juice and salmon and a little bit of sour cream, I think. It's awesome. Deadly. She also does a vodka penne with a spicy pancetta, which is to die for. And I have to go for one that I'll never have again, which was my mom's home cooking. She made a lasagna that is unmatched. Cottage cheese and spinach and homemade sauce, you name it. It was just incredible. And unfortunately, she won't be around to make anymore, so I'll miss that.